Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Tom Poor. I'm a senior account executive here at FMT Consultants, and I have the practice director for CRM, Tayyab Ali, with us as well. We're going to get going with today's webinar. In the meantime, once again, as mentioned before, we muted the participant lines to keep background noise to a minimum, and we're going to entertain any questions you might have through our questions panel. Indeed, we will follow up with you as well to get your take on today's webinar and answer any questions you might not want to ask in a public forum. Just to let you know a little bit about FMT before we get going, we are one of Southern California's leading providers of Microsoft Dynamics solutions. And with over 550 Dynamics implementations throughout the practice of CRM, GP, things like being a President's Club member and a Cloud Accelerator partner really puts us in the position to be able to serve your needs. 40 team members in different disciplines, including CRM, and Tayyab is kind enough to share his knowledge with us today. We're all over the U.S. and Canada, and we're based here in Carlsbad, California. Some of the things that position us to well serve you is that we have the ability to understand and really help you optimize the Microsoft staff for your particular organization. As you can see, being able to bring you all of the things that CRM, GP for financial accounting, SharePoint for portal development and sharing documents. We do have behind us the .NET development expertise, and being able to virtualize environments, integrate things with Office 365s and other, we all make it work together. That said, I'm getting ready to turn it over now, and I would like to introduce Tayyab Ali, our practice director for CRM. Tayyab, take it away.
All right. Hello, everyone. This is Tayyab. I welcome you all to this webinar. This is the second webinar of our series of webinars. Those of you who were part of the first webinar, you would recall that we shared all the reports that we did as part of that webinar, and that would be the theme for this webinar as well. However, if you did not join the previous one, you don't have to worry about that. The video for that one is already available. We will share the link for both the videos, the one that we had recorded earlier and the one for the one that we will be conducting today after this webinar as well. And this is not directly related to that. It's just that we have a small recap of what we actually did in the previous webinar before I actually start with this one. So you will get an idea as to what has actually been done in CRM and then what we would be covering right now. But the previous one was in no way a prereq to this one. So let's start with our webinar for today. I'm going to switch the screen. Just close the poll and then share the screen here. All right. So those of you who were part of my previous webinar would recall that we covered in the previous webinar as to what constitutes CRBI strategy, and we went through the management vision, the technology concerns, and the results that actually drive your strategy. And the idea was that after having started with this slide that you see on the screen right now, we went into CRM and we built. We started with reports out of the box, then we built charts, then we built dashboards, and I showed you how CRM in itself can help you get to these results that you identify as part of your BI strategy. And then we moved on and we said that what are the challenges that one has in the business, and we looked at the pipeline and the global coverage. Those two were the ones that we covered in our last webinar. I did share that we might touch upon customer satisfaction, but we did not. And for the sake of this webinar as well, we would primarily focus on pipeline visibility and global coverage again. Hopefully we'll keep customer satisfaction for another day. So this is where this webinar is an add-on to the last one. In the last one, we just talked about dynamic CRM. So whatever we could do in dynamic CRM, we saw different things like building reports, charts, dashboards, and I also showed you how one needs to think about building those reports. Like if you're talking about sales, then you're talking about closed opportunities and the actual revenue coming in through those opportunities. So opportunity is the entity where you would start from in CRM. And this is the theme that we would follow in this one as well, which would be to kind of give you an idea as to where to start in CRM when you're building these reports. But this focuses more on exporting data from CRM and actually using Microsoft Excel services to build your reports and dashboards using Excel services. Now the question that is important that I do want to address in the beginning is, why would you export data to Excel? Why wouldn't you just use dynamic CRM? Because I already showed you that the system in itself is capable enough to give you a very rich feature set of building the reports and dashboards. However, there are instances in which it makes sense to report out of other tools and export data from CRM. And one of them would be that you need to aggregate data. So for example, you have your data analysis people and they do data analytics and they need to perform lots of aggregates and they have calculated columns and they want to do the data analysis based on those. And usually the thing is that they're comfortable using Excel and they have used them, and I'm pretty sure almost all of you who are part of this webinar as well, you have experience with Excel. So they feel comfortable exporting data from CRM and actually doing those manipulations of the data in Excel. That is one. The second, which in my viewpoint is most important, and I think all of you who have worked with consultants must have witnessed this, that you ask a consultant that, hey, can you combine the data from CRM with an external system's data? And the answer is yes, we can, but we need to integrate the two systems. Well, guess what? With Excel services, what you can do is that you can export data from CRM, and then you can bring in a data feed from that ERP or accounting system and do your reporting in Excel, and then put that Excel-based report in CRM, so you don't actually have to worry about integration anymore. You can just do it to the extent that is required to build your dashboards. And this is a huge advantage because it saves you, one, a lot of money, two, a lot of time, three, you don't actually have to go to technical consultants. You just with business acumen, and this is what I'm going to show you today, without actually writing a single line of code or SQL, you can actually do that. And you can build your own dashboards and charts, and not only build those, but also share them within CRM as CRM reports. And moreover, what would happen would be, this is something that I will explain in more detail, it will respect the security model of your CRM. So when I say it will respect the security model of your CRM, what I mean is that if you have built Excel report on CRM data, it does not mean that people you share this Excel report with, they would be able to see everything in that data. It would still pull data from CRM in real time, and based on that, it would only pull the information that they have access to. So for example, if, say, John builds a report and John has access to all the financials for accounts in CRM, and he shares that with Alex, and Alex does not have access to all the financials, then Alex still won't be able to see the financials in the Excel report. And this is really where the power of Excel services combined with CRM is making it go a big way. So we'll discuss that in more detail. And SQL obviously is at the back end. And if we have another in this series of webinar, we would add SharePoint to this trial and then use SharePoint to share some of the reports. So just a brief recap of what we did. We were following storylines. We started with, and I'll just go quickly through that. We started with the report, which was just out of the box sales report, and we showed total sales by sales rep and total revenue by sales rep and by customer. And this is the theme that we would follow in this webinar as well. The reason why I follow the same theme is that I don't want to be actually conducting a webinar where we are kind of coaching more than one thing. So I just try to focus on that same business theme so that you don't have to worry about the understanding of the business and you could focus on technology. And then going forward, midway through in this webinar, we would build something new, which is the ROI on your campaigns, in which, because I would have already covered by then some of the technical intricacies. So I think we will be able to change the business theme somewhat. So after the report, we built some charts, and I showed you how easy it was to build charts in CRM. You would recall that charts were a combination of a view and a chart, and I showed you how you filter a view and it changes a chart, or how you click on a chart and it changes the actual view in CRM. And then once we had a few charts of the sales on the pipeline and the actual sales, we combined those charts to actually make them into a dashboard. And this is a dashboard that we built last time. If I just switch over to CRM, just to show you the dashboard that we had built last time around, this is exactly what we built. You can see that we also discussed about changing the look and feel of some of these dashboards. So this one, you can see it has a nice gradient on the bars, and I showed you and also shared with you some collateral as to how you can do that within your CRM. I haven't had a lot of feedback from you guys. If you had any issues using the reports that I shared in the last webinar, if you played around with that. But after this webinar, I'll reach out to all of you and ask for more feedback so that we could improve this process going forward. And then this report, I showed you, I think, that you can actually click on this map and it will show you the data for that particular area of the map. So without any further ado, I'll go to what we will be covering in this webinar. So in this one, we don't have a storyline. It's more of a deep down dive into how we would actually do things. So I don't have many slides. I think I just have a couple of slides for this webinar. And so this is one of the reports that is built in Excel. So essentially what we will do is that we would export data from CRM, and then we will start playing around with that data, and I'll show you how it actually respects the security model of CRM, 1, 2, how easy it is to actually build similar kind of charts in Excel, and how then you can upload those reports that you have built in Excel within CRM so that people in CRM could actually access those reports. So we'll start with the demo. I'll just move back to CRM. Like we covered last time, we'll start with something similar to that. So I would like to look at my data in the pipeline. So I'm not talking about the sales, but actually stuff in the pipeline. And I want to know the estimated revenue by territory in the pipeline. So as you would recall, when we start talking about sales in CRM, we generally are concerned about the opportunities. So instead of one opportunity right now, we are talking about open opportunities because we are talking about our pipeline, which means that the opportunity has not passed through our sales funnel and has not been closed. I have a view here, which is the one that I will be using. It is called open opportunities. I'm calling it Excel export just for my ease so that I remember that I have to export it to Excel. And then you can see that it has estimated revenue, it has pipeline phase, it has probability, owner, opportunity products, and territories. So the first step that we would do would be to export it to Excel. I'm not going to cover making this view and how you can make different views because we covered that in the last webinar. But just a brief overview of that is that you can use this advanced find feature in CRM, create your view and save it, and it will start appearing in this drop-down. So we'll start here. We'll just export it to Excel. Now this is important because when I export it, I have these options. One is that I export this as a static worksheet. Now when I say static worksheet, what it means is that it will be exported, and then there would be no connection between CRM and the Excel. But in this demo, we are not going to talk about that because that is really basic stuff, and I think everyone who has used CRM, they have exported data from CRM to Excel services and Excel sheets, so you already know about that. This is just an extension of the first one, which is to actually export records from all the pages. The one that we are going to cover is dynamic pivot tables. The way it works is that it establishes, when I'll export it, it will establish a connection between CRM and my Excel, and at any point in time I can refresh that data, and it will reach out to CRM, get the latest data. So what it essentially means is that if I add another opportunity in CRM, that data would reflect in my pivot table in Excel. So I'll just select that and click on export. It says that you want to, I want to do that. Just click open, and it should open it up in let me just export this again. So I'll just export that, I'll open it. The first step and very important step is, and you must not forget this one because it's absolutely important if you want to work on pivot tables. This export is an XML format, and in order to get all the feature set of Microsoft Excel services, you have to save it in Excel worksheet. So the first thing that I do is I save as, and then I just pick a location. Just say webinar, demo, and then I save it as Excel workbook. So this is important, not XML spreadsheet 2003, Excel workbook. And I say this is open opportunity analysis. Opportunity analysis. And I will share all of these reports after this webinar, so you will have all of these. And I just change it back to this, and I save. Okay. This on the left is area where I can actually drop fields that I exported from CRM. So you see on the right, all the columns that I had in CRM, you can see those. And then on the left, there is an area where you can actually drop these fields. So for example, just to give you an idea, if I click on owner, it just brings owners in the columns. I can move it around, so I can say I don't want in the rows, sorry. I don't want owner as a row, I want it as a column, and it changes that. So you can play around with this data in this pivot table. Okay. One thing that I want to show you is, so on the top, now you have a Power Pivot tab. You will only see that if you export the data from CRM as a pivot table. If you don't do that, then you won't see this tab. If you click on this, you have this Manage Data Model. So I want to show you the back end of this sheet. And when I go to existing connections, you will see that it automatically has a connection on open opportunity analysis. And this is the connection that it is bringing from my CRM. So I just click do open, next, and finish. And it will bring in all the data from CRM, all the 71 rows. And now I have my data over here. So I haven't done anything. I'll just reiterate what I actually did. What I did was that I went to the Power Pivot. I clicked on Manage in the Data Model. When I do that, it takes me to the data model. I clicked on existing connections, and then I used the existing connection to pull the data. Another important thing to note is that you can see that there is a connection between this Excel and the CRM. So this is the connection that I was referring to when I said that whenever you will add something in CRM, it will automatically reflect in your report. And this connection also respects CRM security. So it's just like a report that you have on a reporting server. If you're going through CRM, then all the security settings within CRM would apply to that report. Same is the case for this Excel. So just to give you a brief overview of this, I'll talk about this in a lot more detail as we go through different reports. So I'm just going to skip this for now and just go to the data that we had brought in. So we said that we wanted to look at estimated revenue in our pipeline by region. So instead of having owners over here, we should have our pipeline. So I'm just going to remove owners. I just removed that. So I have my pipeline here. I want to look at estimated revenue, so I'll just select that. It just brings that in because it's an aggregation of that. And then I want to look at, we said we would look into different regions. So I say regions, and I don't want regions there. I want it to be in here as columns. So here I have it. I will just select all of this and make it look a little better. Let's see. All right, I'll just make this bold. I'll make this. So I'm just adding a bit of formatting, something that I think most of you would be familiar with, and you already know how to do all of this. You see that in my pipeline you have qualification status twice. It's just because of the dummy data that I had created for this webinar. So just don't hold it against me. We would be considering just the qualification status because that is where I have all the opportunities. So I have this. I'm going to just format these just to make them look better. I'll add a $ to it. I will, and then as you already know that in Excel you already have KPIs, so you can add formatting. You can say, okay, I want this shades of green based on the data. So it just does that. So here is my basically a chart or a report that shows me all the pipeline phases. It shows me my territories, and it tells me, okay, in the qualification I have almost $20 million, and then for each pipeline phase you can actually see, and then there are sums over here. Now the next step is to add charts against this data, which is as simple as actually creating it. So what I'll do is I'll go to the Insert tab. I'll go in and I'll say add just add a bar chart. So I can actually add a 3D one just to make it look prettier. So I just add it over here. And it's a stacked bar chart that I have added. It tells me that in the central region, this is the revenue for the qualification phase in the pipeline. And then by colors, it actually tells me I can filter this data. So I can say, just show me the central region. It will do that. I can say, okay, no, I want to filter it back. So you can still play around with the data. You still have the data that is tied up with CRM. And you can actually build more reports. So I just created one chart, which is this. Let's say if I want to create another one, and I say insert pivot chart. So you see right now it's asking me to select the data that would be part of this chart. That is because I had not selected this pivot table when I was inserting this chart. So I'll show that to you again. And I'm showing you all of these in detail because this will become more important as we build more complex reports. So please try to pay attention here. So if I just select this and I say insert pivot chart, it will just ask me, hey, which chart do you want to add to this? So it is not asking me about the data. I can just say again, I want to have maybe a bar chart similar to what we had, and then I can add more. So if I add owner here as well, I can actually add owner too. Just remove it. But if I don't do it this way, if I just delete this again and I just select any cell in the sheet and then I say insert a pivot chart, then it will say which data do you want to bind it to. Now you would recall that we went to the data model and we have a data model that is coming from CRM. So I'll go into the queues connections and I'll just say use the query that we have as part of this sheet. I'll say okay. And now it actually allows me to build a totally new chart that has nothing to do with our pivot table here. So it's not dependent on that. It's just independent of that, another chart that I can actually have in this sheet. So let's say if I want to add to this sheet that I want to look into estimated revenue by sales rep. So I'll just select estimated revenue and I'll say give me owner name. Here it is. Very simple. I'll save it. And what we can do is that let's build another one. So I just will do the same process again because it has quite a few steps. So I'll just save this one, which is webinar for open opportunity analysis. I've saved it, I've closed it, I go back to my CRM. And now rather than going into open opportunities, let's go into one opportunities and do something similar to what we actually did in our last webinar, where we actually looked at total sales by sales rep by region. So let's, the same process again, let's export it to Excel. Again, I'm going to say dynamic pivot table. I will export it. I will open this and I will save it as Excel workbook, like we discussed. And just enable editing. Go on. Okay, and I say save as. And this is sales by sales rep in region. And this time I just go and select my webinar demo and I'll just add webinar to it so that I recall that I have to share it with all the participants. And I will change the type to Excel workbook. I hit save, and within a few minutes we should just get this done. So I will say, okay, I want to look at owner, now the actual revenue rather than the estimated revenue, and also on the territory. So I want to have a territory here, like this, perfect. And then I will insert a chart here, again a stack chart. And here we go. So we have total sales by, and I can actually just enlarge this. So we have total sales by different sales rep and different regions. These colors, they signify regions. I can actually change the look and feel of these charts and make them look prettier. So I don't know if that would be prettier for you or not, but I'm a technical guy. So let's use this one for now. So this is another chart that I've quickly built in Excel. We followed the same process, so it's really easy. You actually export data from your CRM, save it in a workbook format, and then you actually build your charts based on that. Another thing that I want to quickly cover is, if I just save it, you have an option to add, to slice and dice this data, and you can actually, let me show you, insert slicers in the data. So let's say if I hit owner and I say, okay, add owner as a slicer. Okay, I think I didn't save it correctly. Let me just save as again. Find it. So I'll just go back in there, and I'm just trying to add a slicer here. Apparently it doesn't like that, so. Okay, it's not adding me, allowing me to actually add a slicer, but I'll cover that in more detail in subsequent reports, so don't worry about that. I'll just save this one as well. So the next thing that I want to show you is that we can actually add these reports within CRM. So I'll just open CRM again, and I'll go to the report section. And this is something that we covered in the previous webinar, so I'm going to go quickly and show you exactly how this is done. So I'll just hit new. And this time around, instead of saying that let's build a report through report with it, I would say have an existing file. And I browse to that file, and these are the two that we just created. So I'll say webinar, open opportunities analysis, and I will say the category for this one, it's a sales report, and it should show up in opportunities here. And similarly, we can actually do for the second report that we have as well. So I'll just not create that one, but you will see that this report is now added to CRM. And now anyone can click on it. It will open in the Excel sheet, but as I said, that this is CRM, and if they don't have access to anything, they won't see that. And they won't be able to edit that if they don't have edit rights to it. So essentially what we have done now is that we have started from CRM. We have exported data from CRM into Excel, build our reports using the connection of that Excel from CRM that actually gives us all the security settings of CRM, and then used Excel to build those reports rather than actually building them the way we did last time within CRM. The next thing that I want to cover is a more advanced understanding of the same concept, which is that right now what we are doing is that we are actually exporting data from CRM. What I want to show you is that how you can actually build your data models in Excel that are actually pulling data from CRM and then also pulling from an external system. I will not cover the external system part, but when I will show you how to pull it from CRM, you will understand how easy it would be to pull from external system as well. So for that, I'm just going to close this. And I will go to my Excel 2013. And for this particular data model that we are building, we are going to change the theme of our reports, and we are going to actually look into campaign ROI. The reason why I wanted to do that was because I've had lots of clients, and everyone who's actually doing marketing, they want to see if the estimated revenue against the marketing campaign was, say, $100,000, then how many of the opportunities generated through that actually closed, and was that estimated revenue met or not. So we are going to build that, and I'll give you that report at the end of this webinar. So we'll just start with a blank workbook and just save it as a webinar. So essential idea is the same. Just we're going to change the first step. So in the previous ones that we built, we went to CRM and exported the data. In this one, we are actually within Excel. So we are starting from Excel, and then we are going to pull data from CRM. And so this is going to be a lot richer in the feature set and in terms of the reports that you can actually build in this Excel, because we can bring in any data, any entity from CRM. Obviously, if you go through CRM views, there are some limitations because you can only have that much in a view in CRM, but here you won't have any limitations. So I'm just going to call it sales and marketing campaign analysis. And we will use it for the rest of our webinar. Marketing data analysis. Okay. So as part of this, the data that I would need, as you can see from the name, would be the sales data and the marketing data. And I will also bring in accounts because I want to tie up the sales data with the account name. So I'll just hit save here. Once I'm in it, I should be able to go to Power Pivot. And then when I go to manage, like I showed you previously, you can actually, just give me a second, you can actually start creating your data model. So I just go to that. And so this is the most important step in this, creating this sheet, because this is where I'll show you how you can pull data from CRM. So what we essentially do is that we go to from data service. So we are going to get external data from data service. Now, how do you know where this data service is? And the reason why I said that you will be able to build these reports without actually writing a single line of code is you can actually select your data feed for CRM. So I think the obvious question is where that data feed is. What you do is you go to your CRM, settings, customizations, and developer resources. So again, setting, customizations, development, developer resources, and in there you have your REST-based URL. And this is the URL that actually gives you data from within CRM. So you just click on that and copy paste this URL. Just copy this. And we go back to our Excel and put it in here. And test connection, and that is essentially it. So we have a connection now with our CRM. So this is as simple as it gets. You came to your data model, said I want to get data from a data service, and you just gave in one URL, and then now if I click next, it asks me what exactly do you need to pull from your CRM. And now here I can actually build my data model, so I can bring in as many tables as I want. And then, as I showed you, once we have the data in the Excel, it's up to your imagination as to what you can do with that. You can just keep on building pivot tables and keep on adding charts to those, and then just add those charts back in CRM and share with others. So what we will do in this instance is that I'll select account. I don't want to bring in all the columns, so I'm just going to go and filter these columns. This whole process will take, I think, at least 5 to 10 minutes, so just bear with me. It can be a little boring, but I do want to show you this because this will give you the ability to kind of do anything with CRM data. So I'll just say I want to select address. Just want to do it quickly, so I don't need telephone numbers for accounts, but let's select that. I'm doing addresses because subsequently I want to do Power View reports with you, and in those I want to show you maps and some super cool stuff. So I'll just make my data model for once. I'll add this, I'll add created on, name of the account. I don't want the exchange rate. I do want the state, account number, address. Keep on going, country, account ID. The reason why I select account ID is because I want to use this for relationships with other entities, and I'll show you that in a bit. Modified on, I'll just skip that. Maybe just select it. I don't need email. I don't think I need contacts, but let's go. Owner. I need owners so that I could show you how different sales reps are doing. I don't need account manager. I don't need leads. I need revenue per customer so that I could look at my top customers. I can also select, I don't need price lists. So essentially you can see it's easy. I just go through the data set that I have in CRM and select whatever I feel would be required for my data model. And you don't actually have to worry if you miss something because you can always go back in and select that and it will bring it over. It's just that it takes some more time and I don't want to waste anyone's time, so I'm just going through each one of them to make sure that I don't miss on anything that I need for the reports that we will be building today at least. So I'll just say okay here. I'm done with the data for account. I'll go, what else do I need? I need campaign, I said, so I'll just go to campaign set. This should be pretty straightforward. All I need is I need campaign ID, I need campaign name. Maybe when was it created, when it actually ended. Description, code name, maybe not required, but. And owner for the campaign. Don't need that. I do want to look at the estimated revenue from the campaign, so I just want to select that. That is the reason why I'm spending more time on this campaign view than actually I should. So this is where my expected revenue from this thing is. And as you can see that some of these campaigns that I have as sample data, they don't have the estimated revenue. So I'll show you how easy it is to actually just play around with this data and this data model as well in a bit. And we will just add in some revenue against these as well. So actual cost, I'm not interested in the cost right now. I just want to remember I'm trying to build a data model to compare the estimated revenue that I thought would come from campaigns and the actual that actually came from those campaigns. So I'll just skip that. I'll say, okay, give me the base as well. And I can't tell you how many clients that I've worked with have actually asked me for this report. Not that I have never built it for them. I have using different things, but I can show you how easy it is to build it yourself as well now. And then we keep on going. I want to select opportunities. I go to opportunity. So opportunity products, I want to select all of them because there's nothing in it that I don't need. On the opportunities, I will still filter again. And this will take a minute or so because I want to make sure I get all the things from opportunity. I want to get actual close dates for the opportunity. So this actually, because right now there is no way for me to filter the data, or there is a way, but I don't want to do that, to just select the one opportunity. So I'm selecting the actual close date so that I could know whenever I'm comparing the estimated revenue versus the actual revenue, because it is actually triggered off this actual close date. And I go in, I say, give me close probability, create it on, estimated close date, keep on going through it. Opportunity ID maybe, although it might not be required, but opportunity name, account manager is not required, sorry. And then here's the actual value that I wanted to select, because I will be comparing this with the estimated revenue coming from campaigns. I don't want rate amount, I want actual base value base. Here I select my products and my product IDs. The reason why I select IDs for some of these is because I want to create relationships between different tables, and in those instances it's really important that I have the IDs, because one ID could be a foreign ID in the other table. I'm sorry if I'm talking in a lingo that is getting complexer, but or complicated, but I can assure you that when we get to the reports, it will be as simple as just selecting this data that we are just trying to populate our data model with. So I select customer ID and customer name. This is important, and then I think that should do. Estimated revenue. Okay, the most important thing that I could have missed. So I want to select my territories and my campaigns. Total amount. I think we're done. Yeah, here we go. All right, so, and then so essentially we are done with our data model. I'll just select territory as well, so that we have that. I'll just select products too. Product set, I'll select territories, territory set. And then you can give a friendly name to these tables. So for example, you see that from within CRM it comes as account set. I'll just call it account. And I can change it for all of the tables that I have. Instead of calling it campaign set, I want to call it campaign. Instead of calling opportunity set, I want to call it opportunity product. So I'm just doing that right now. Product set. I'm running just a little behind time, so I'll just try to make sure that I cover up for that as we go along. And essentially that's it. So I hit finish, and then what it will try and do is it will fetch this data from CRM for account, contact, opportunity products, and territory. So all the entities that we have selected. Once it has done that, it shows you that it was successful. It has brought in all these rows. When I close this, we have our data. So essentially we have built database from CRM, and we have everything in this data model now. So I'll just save this before I do any analysis on this. And now I want you to take a pause here and think as to what we were doing. So what we did was that we have built the data model, but essentially what we want to do is to measure the ROI on our campaign. So we discussed that. We said that we would like to compare the estimated revenue that was when we actually conducted those campaigns and what is the actual revenue. Now keeping that in mind, I'll go back to my data and I'll say that go to campaign and go into the estimated revenue. So you can see that most of these do not have any data in it. So I'll show you how easy it is to actually create a computed column. So what I want is that wherever there is 0, I just want it to default to 100,000 as the estimated revenue for the campaign. So I'll just add that here. I'll say, okay, this is the function. If this thing, and I'm just selecting this, is 0, what I want you to do is to select 100,000. And I'm not sure how many of you have used these in the past, but I haven't used a lot of formulas in Excel before, but it was really simple, so I thought I will just go ahead and do it. If not, then just use this. And when I do that, it will just add this column based on these. Oh, there was an error, so maybe it's not as simple as I thought. What is it? So it's just saying that I missed something. If expected value, is equal to 0, then I want this, otherwise I want that. So now we should be good. So it just brought in the values from here to this column. If it was 0, it defaulted it to 100,000, otherwise it is what it is. So the reason why I did that was I did not want to build a chart on no data in the system. So I've just brought that in. I'll call it campaign revenue. No, not expected revenue from campaign. Let's call it that. Rev from campaign. So I just create this, and now I'm going to sum it. So I have selected this column, and I click on this button, auto sum, because I can only build some KPIs, which is performance indicators, on the aggregations. So I have this aggregation here, and then I'll go into my opportunity data set, and I'll go to the actual revenue that is coming from my opportunities. So this one, and I will sum this as well. So I'll say, okay, sum this. And here, I want to show you creating a KPI. So I'm creating a KPI on this actual revenue from my opportunity, and I'm saying that compare this with the expected revenue from campaign, and if the actual revenue is less than 40% of the expected revenue that was from the campaign, make it red color, or maybe let's make it 30%. No, not 30, so let's make it 40 here. And then if it is just less than that, then keep it yellow. If the revenue, actual revenue that came from the opportunities, so essentially, just to clarify that, so when you have campaigns, you will have opportunities, right? And then your opportunities get won, and they have actual revenue that comes in as part of the closure of those opportunities. So we are actually comparing the closed opportunities and the revenue generated by those, and linking them back to which campaign they were related to, and if that campaign had an estimated revenue, if it was actually more than the sum of all the actual revenues that came out of it, then we are going to make it green. Otherwise, it's red if it's less than 40%, yellow otherwise. And I'll just make it more graphical by adding these flags. So I just add these flags, I hit OK. So I've created this KPI now. And this is, so we are essentially done here. So I'll just save this, and I'll show you when we go back in our Excel sheet that now I can actually start working on it and insert a pivot table. So I'll, not this, I want to do a pivot table. So I want to do a pivot table. I wanted to select my tables, all of them, and here I go. So I do this, as I said, I want to look at campaigns. So I will go to campaign, and I'll select a campaign name. It gives me all of my campaigns. And I want to look at them from the perspective of what was the goal. So this is the goal, which is the actual estimated revenue from each one of these. And then what is the actual that came out of it. So I say the actual revenue. And so you see that now when I selected the actual revenue, it is showing me the same number. This is because I still haven't created a relationship between campaigns and opportunities. And I don't have to worry about it because it tells me to do that. So here it is showing me this yellow title which says, hey, create a relationship between these two, because right now it is showing me just the overall total revenue. So I say, okay, I'm going to create this. I'm going to say, okay, the opportunity is linked to campaign through campaign ID. So I'm going to go into opportunity, select campaign ID, and then go to campaign and select campaign ID. And when I do that, these numbers that you see on the actuals, they should change. So you see right now, they changed, and it is telling me that, okay, there are no closed opportunities against this. I have another one with the same name, and I do have some closed opportunities against that, and so on and so forth. And now I will select my KPI. So I will go in and I'll say, give me that flag that shows me how I am doing. So this is essentially just with, so I had to build the data model, which usually takes time. I had actually done it before, so it just took me 10 minutes or 15 minutes, but when you do it, it will take you some time. But I want to now build on that data model, and I'll show you how much you can do with that data model once you have that in place. So you can see, this is my report. It tells me which campaign is doing well and which is not. And then I can have campaign sources. And then I can look into those as well and see, okay, these campaigns usually do well. And when we outsource our marketing campaigns to different companies, that is where it becomes super critical to actually have something that is giving you an insight into what's actually happening with opportunities that are being generated, because a campaign that gives you 100 opportunities or 100 prospects is not necessarily the best campaign, because maybe none of those prospects convert to a customer. So it's super important to look at it from that perspective, and you can see that if I look at it and I know that this is where I need to drill down into. So this is one campaign on which I had expected that it would give me 100,000 US dollars, but it just gave me, it just gave me 37,000. So I need to look into that as to, and now I can add more detail to it. So I can also say maybe, so this is red, but maybe it's red because I have a lot of estimated revenue which is still in my sales pipeline. So maybe it makes sense to just add estimated value to this chart. So I'll do that. I'll say, okay, give me my estimated revenue as well, just so that I could put this KPI in perspective, and I can say, okay, just give me this as well, and let's see if that would change our view about this new customer loyalty program that we have started. So we go in and we see that even if we include the estimated revenue, so even if all of it will close, it will barely be equivalent to what we had forecasted for this campaign. So it's still something that maybe we need to look into. Our loyalty program is not working, and this is where I know that either there's a problem with our loyalty program or the campaign that we are running against it, and with not many people signing up and stuff like that. So this is my report essentially using KPIs. I can easily add charts to it, like we have seen prior to this as well. So let's go in and save it first, and then just insert a pivot chart. I'll just go in. I will say, give me a pivot chart, or maybe just a bar chart for now would do. So I just say, give me a bar chart. I'll just put it in here. And you can see that I'm looking at these campaigns from so many different value terms perspective. I'm looking at actual value. I'm looking at what is the goal, the status. I can change this. I can make it, I can simplify this. So I can say, okay, just change the type of this chart to clustered column might not help with this, yeah. So here, so it just tells me the blue one is my actual value for this, and the yellow one is the estimated value. And then I can also add regions to it. So I can now add another chart on the right here. But before I actually do that, I wanted to show you something that I was not able to show you before, which is to add a slicer. So I can insert slicer here. I can say go, and it says, what do you want to insert a slicer on? It can be just the campaign. It could be revenue. But for now, let's say I want to do it on campaign name. So I say, okay, do this. And here's my slicer. When I select one campaign, it just will change the data in pivot table as well as the graph to just show me the data for that campaign. So this is the power of this Excel. I have a slicer and I can slice and dice this data now and look at just the things that I am interested in. I can click on this and it will just remove that. I can also add a timeline. So if I go back to insert, you will see that along with the size slicer, I can also add a timeline. This is something that we would cover in more detail in the next charts that we will build. So with the data model that I had, I have created this report that gives me my campaign, let's call it campaign analysis. So we're done with our campaign analysis here. And then now if let's say, so since I have the data model in place, creating more reports is as simple as just creating a sheet and then selecting the values that you want. So let's say if I want maybe sales analysis, so I'll just do that. I'll say, okay, give me sales analysis, and in here I just want to focus on maybe things that we did in our previous demo, which is total sales by sales rep by region. So I just go in, I say add a pivot chart, select the tables. For now, just select all the tables just to make it quick. And then I have this here, and I am going to select values. So I will say, give me, not customer now because I want to keep it for subsequent reports. But let's go to opportunities and go to the actual close date and the actual revenue for this opportunity. And so it gives me that, and also the owner of the opportunity and the territory. The territory name and the owner. And you can always change the name. So you see my names are owner ID underscore name. It's not intuitive, so you can always go back to your data model and change this. The date doesn't necessarily make sense here, so I'm going to remove that. And here is my chart for each sales rep in each region. And I can say, okay, add opportunity products to it. And I want to add opportunity products to the legend, like this. And I can now change the look and feel of this. So now I'm going at a faster pace because this is essentially what we have done before. And I want to change maybe some colors. Not this one, yeah, this one. So you can see that it shows me different products in different colors. This product color is not that nice, so I can maybe change it further. And I can convert it. I like stacked charts more than these charts. I'll just convert it into that. Again, so this is one chart, and I can add as many as I want. So this is what I wanted to show you from the perspective of pivot tables. So what we have done so far is we have done pivot tables in Excel. We started from CRM. I showed you the easiest path is to just export data from CRM and then build pivot tables. Then we said, okay, let's build our own data model. We started from Excel there, and we built the data model, and based on that data model, we just built our campaign analysis and the sales analysis. And in that, I also showed you how you can actually add slices, and you can add KPIs and things that you can add and then share with your business executives so that they get information at a glance. Now, the next thing that we are going to cover, and all right, the next thing that that we want to cover is, so Power Pivot demo we already did. The next thing that we want to do is Power View reports. So what is Power View? Power View is, it's built on the same data model of the Power Pivot, but it's a lot stronger in terms of the graphical representation of the data. So you can actually do videos, you can do maps like you see on your screen in this PowerPoint sheet, and then it graphically enhanced, and it allows you to slice and dice the data intuitively rather than having a slicer and doing it. It just gives you the data at mouse click. So this is what we are going to do. It's the best thing that's out there in terms of reporting with SharePoint and with Excel services. Now, everything that we are doing and we have done till now, just to make sure, because some of you have CRM Online and some have CRM On-Prem, everything that we have done till now, it can be uploaded in SharePoint, and all of these reports that we have built, like Power Pivot reports and Power View reports that we would build, they should run from within CRM, within SharePoint. So what I mean when I say within SharePoint is that right now when I go to CRM and I open these reports that we have uploaded there, it actually still open them in Excel. So I'll just show you that. So if you don't have Excel, these reports won't work. So this is the one that we created. If I click it, it says open. When I click open, it opens it in Excel. But if I upload these in SharePoint 2013, they will render in your Internet Explorer. So you don't need Microsoft Excel for this. So it's a built-in experience in SharePoint. We are not going to cover that in this webinar, but in the next webinar, what we'll do is that I'll show you how you can actually add these reports in SharePoint and then link them with CRM dashboards so that you could have a list of all these reports within your dashboard in CRM. That is one. The other important point to note is that this, like the data connections that we are creating with CRM and then running our Excel reports, this is unfortunately not going to work for CRM Online. So for some of you who are out there and they have CRM Online, this is not available at this point in time based on my understanding, but it is coming, it is going to become available to you shortly. So the connection that we created with CRM Online would be essentially similar to what I showed you using our this service. So because we are actually using this service, so I think it's possible to make it work with CRM Online, and Microsoft is working on that. But based on my knowledge, it's still not available. Now going back to our demo, so we want to build these Power View reports now. So I'll just go back to the same Excel that we were working on, not this one. And this is where it becomes really amazing. So I'll just go and I will add another sheet to it, and I'll call it Power View. Sales by geography. Okay, by geo. So I have this in, and right now what I'll do is instead of inserting a Power Pivot chart that I used to do from here, I'm going to say insert Power View in it. And once I do that, so it will take a few minutes just to bring in the Power View interface because it's a lot more enriched, so it takes some time. It brings this in. I have all the data model that I built for that Power Pivot report. So everything that I have built, I can reuse for the Power View. So again, that is the reason why we spend the time that we spend on building this data model. And now let's say for the sake of this example, I'll just start with the simpler example that we have done in the past, which is I want to look at my actual revenue by product by region. So I will go, okay. Give me my actual revenue, which is this. Now I want to break it down by region and also by product. So I just do that. All right. So it is giving me region and it is also giving me products. Now here is the fun part. So I have maps in Power View. I can just click on this map, and what it will do is that it will insert this map in my Power View report. So I just clicked on that. So here we are, it is saying these are your regions. Now regions or territories are not good enough, so I'm going to go to the accounts and I will bring in my, let's bring city. And as I do that, it says, hey, do you want to create a relationship between account and opportunities? And I want to do that because I want it to map, for each opportunity to map to its actual city based on the account that it is associated with. So I'll just do that. I'll say, okay, opportunity has customer ID, And again, it's the same thing that I showed you previously, so it automatically knows when you have to create it and shows you this, so you don't have to remember creating relationships. It's just that you need to know that if I want to map cities in the map, then obviously city is not available in opportunity entity in CRM, so you have to go to the account where the address of the account is. And I say, okay, address one. Oh, sorry, not this, account ID. I say, okay. And it shows you here as well. It wasn't showing this because it did not know how the data was related. So now I have my map. Yeah, I know. You must be laughing at this map right now, but it is going to be all right in a bit. So just hang in there. So it says vertical multiple is city, which is wrong. It should be the location. So I just go move it to location. And you see it changes. And then the territory name, I don't need that because I'm actually taking it to the city level. And here you go. So you see I have my products, and then I can also put in more verticals in there. I can also put in customer name, a tile. I'll show you that in a bit. But essentially this is my map. I can play around with it. I can select a product and it will just show me that product on the map. So if I say product B, you see all of the others, they just fade away, and the green ones, they show up. And when I go on it, it shows me, okay, this is product B. It has the actual revenue coming from this city is 512,000. I can go in, and then when I click on map, everything comes back up, and then if I click on just this yellow portion, which is product A, this will highlight and the rest would fade away. And it will just show me this. So this is almost 2 million, and then this small portion is, if I look at both of them, and here, so this is 250 million. This is 250 million. So this is product A and B, and then I can also select product B. So I can play around with this data. It's just at a mouse click from me. And now I want to add maybe customer because I also want to relate a customer to the region. So I can go to account since I already have account selected in my data model, and I say give me account name. So I just select that here. And instead of doing it this way, I want to have a tile-based account. So if I just do this, it will just, so you see on the top, I have all of my accounts. So I can just move through those and it will tell me where each one of them is. So fun toys and sales is a blank, so I don't have a city for it. So not a good example, but let's go to leading sales. This is my account in Washington. Maybe the city, I don't know if it's wrong or not. So I have a product in there, I have the revenue, and I can play around with this. So this is just one example of Power View. You see I can add in maps. Maps are interactive, so I can zoom out, I can zoom in, I can play around with it. I don't like name, customer name, I can just remove that, and I'm back to where I started from. I can add more detail to it. I can add additional features. I can, if I have latitude and longitude, in my CRM for my addresses, I can add those, and then this would be a lot more accurate than it is right now because I can only take it to the city level right now. And I can zoom in just to see it. And then this gives me the geographical distribution of my accounts and the revenue, and it tells me as to which areas I can focus on. This is similar to what we did in the previous webinar where we had a report and we could click and slice and dice the data, and it would then show me all the opportunities in there. But it's a lot more enriched in terms of the graphical interface, and salespeople generally and executives, they prefer these kind of things. So this is one of the Power View reports. The other one that I want to show you is let's look at the performance of our sales reps. So Tom is now looking at me. Let's look at the performance of our sales reps over time. So what I will do is I'll create a new one. I'll call it sales rep performance over time. Okay, I have this now. I will insert a Power View chart to it. Now again, like before, it asks me to start selecting these values, and since I want to look into my sales rep. So I will just select those. I'll say give me the sales rep name, give me the revenue that they are doing, actual values of their revenue, and give me, essentially that would be it. And I want to look at it over time. So what I'll do is that I'll add a chart here. I'll go to other charts and I want to add a scatter chart. So this is important if you want to build this chart. So I'll just go in and add this. And I will enlarge this. Now the y-axis here, it's significant, important just from the perspective that I want to be able to look at this data. And since I haven't selected anything, I just want to have something that would allow me to see this data, rest of the data. So this is not important, but I just have to add it for the sake of it. So I just add that, and then I am going to change the limit of my close probability size is 255. This is not good. So I'm just gonna remove this field. I don't want this. Instead, what I want is okay, so what I will do is that I will just add for the size, I want the bubble size to be represented by estimated revenue. So just select that. So you give me this here. And then I want the colors to be the names of these owners. So I will just take this from here to here. So it just adds that in there. And so I'm just going to remove this. And then I will add a timeline to it. So I want to look at all the close dates. So my opportunity close date is actual close date for the opportunity. And it will add this to the play axis. So this is what is important. So I have all the sales rep now, and I have this, and I am going to play this thing. And you can't really see much because my y-axis is screwed up, so I'll just fix that. Give me a second. Alrighty. Yeah, better now. I'm gonna go in and say, okay, yeah, keep it to 100. It's because the value that I have against close probability, they go up to 100. So I'll just select that. 101. So here now I can see that it shows me how my sales reps are doing. So it shows me when an opportunity by close by Terry. Let's look at just Terry because there's a lot that is going on there. So I just want to focus on Terry for now. I just select Terry and then you go. It is showing me just the green ones with Terry and the deals that he is closing. And maybe because we know from the color that it's Terry, so instead of adding his name as well, let's add the customer name here. So I'll go and I'll say give me customer name in the detail. You can drag drop as well. So now it's telling me transport sales is an opportunity. It was closed on May 18th. Sorry. May 18th, the close probability was 50. It was closed by Terry Adams, and the actual revenue was this. And I can just go back and forth on this timeline, and you see that it shows me what I want to see. So I'm just interested in Terry for now. Let's just do that. I'll play this thing. It just still shows me Mark for some reason. Just focus on Terry. Here we go. So it has faded out all the other one, and it's just showing me Terry's graph. So you can see that as 2013 starts, Terry is going to become active, or not that much. Maybe we can look at Mark and see what he has been doing. So this is just one way of looking at data over time. You see how your people are performing. This maybe is not the right example for this kind of a report. It's generally used to look at trends over time. So how have things changed in your business and stuff like that, you can actually build something similar to this for that kind of a report. So going back to our PowerPoint sheet again. So we started from just exporting simply to Excel and building some reports. Then we moved to Power Pivots and more complex Power Pivots. Then I showed you how actually you can build the data model. And then after the data model, I showed you the big brother of Power Pivot, which is Power View, which is, for as far as I know, I feel it's super cool and amazing because you can actually do quite a lot in there and have a very amazing representation of the data and slice and dice it in different ways too. With this, I think we have come to an end of this webinar as well. I'll open the floor for questions. You can raise your hands, or you can actually just type in the question, and I'm looking at the question section now, so we'll just respond back to the questions.